Greetings, human life forms. I'm Newmeister, joined once again by Thomas Bailey as we are here with our Week 15 edition of the NFL predictions this season, right in the thick of December. Got my Christmas sweater on. It is the heat of the playoffs pretty much right now. Teams...
Fantasy playoffs as well.
Fantasy playoffs too. Well, you're on a bye and I'm eliminated, so not really quite yet.
Yeah, we're right there in the middle.
Yeah, for this week... getting to that point of the season where there's 3 teams that have a chance to make it to the playoffs this week officially. Broncos, Patriots, and there's one other team out there, I believe it's the Rams.
Yes.
And then there's already a cluster of teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs. Real quickly, for last week, both me and Thomas went 8-6 last week. I have an overall of 124 and 83. You have an overall of 140 and 68. But due to point tiebreakers with locks and upsets, I get the trophy this week, so congratulations to me. As I think we have 3 weeks left after this one, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But we're going to fly right into this, starting with Thursday Night Football, which I feel like is a very reoccurring game on Thursday Night Football. It is the 4-9 eliminated Atlanta Falcons as they travel into Tampa Bay to take on the 7-6 Buccaneers. Tampa might have Mike Evans back. We know Drake London is out for this week. This is really a must-win game for Tampa Bay because if they fall here to Atlanta, Carolina has a really good opportunity potentially snag the division from them as we enter Week 16. So who do you see winning this game?
Yeah, before anything, I want to talk about like the college football playoffs and how it looks for that and stuff like that. This feels the exact same with whoever wins the NFC South is going to be like Tulane or James Madison just having to get in based off of how the playoff format is, whereas you're going to see a lot of good NFC teams not make the playoffs. Potentially the Lions might not make the playoffs. They have a really tough road to get there. They'd have to basically win out and get a little bit of help in order to kind of have that spot in their favor. Teams like San Francisco could fall out. Teams like Chicago could fall out too, who's been a very solid team this year. So it's been very interesting to say all of those things, but if we get back on course for this football game, New Orleans absolutely really just ran the ball all over Atlanta last week. Tampa Bay last week. And that's a problem for Tampa Bay, because Atlanta has Bijan Robinson. And that's the one thing that scares me about picking Tampa Bay to win this football game for a lot of these folks is just Tampa Bay's defense hasn't been as good as it was to start this season. Drake London could potentially be back for the Atlanta Falcons as well for tonight's game. So hopefully they can get something figured out. It's going to be pretty interesting to see which one of these teams comes out on top. But Tampa Bay is in that desperate mode right now. And with a desperate version of Baker Mayfield, who's going to do everything he can to win this game, I expect Tampa Bay to come out on top. 24-14. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers to get this one done. I'm a little nervous about it, but I will pick the Tampa Bay Bucs to hopefully hold on to their playoff hopes.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Tampa Bay also in this one. And like you mentioned, it definitely terrifies me too, especially with how last week played out and the Saints beating them. If the Saints can beat them, really anyone in the league can beat them right now. But they might get Mike Evans back for this week, which could help the offense a lot. Going into a game like this, and like you mentioned, Falcons at Bijan Robinson, it could create like a maybe who's going to win this game. Could it be Atlanta? I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to go with the safe pick, go with Tampa Bay. They're favored to win in this one. As both Brian and the AI will also go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as this is also Brian's lock of the week. To kick things off, he's already got his lock in place on Thursday night. As we are going to move right along to the Sunday slate of games. First of which, 1 o'clock on CBS. It is a big AFC North matchup between the 6-7 Baltimore Ravens, who are favored as they go on the road to take on the 4-9 Bengals. Both teams still mathematically alive for this division right now, so big game here in Week 15 in Cincinnati. We saw on Thanksgiving night, the Bengals killed them. Will that happen again? We'll see. How do you think this one plays out?
I think that game on Thursday night was a very interesting one. It was fueled by Joe Burrow coming back. It was fueled by the Lamar Jackson-led offense doing absolutely nothing. They found themselves a little bit last week against Pittsburgh, and that's a pretty good defense in Pittsburgh, especially against the run. They've been pretty solid, so I do think that this Pittsburgh Steelers defense has been good enough to where Baltimore's offense coming back wasn't just like a fluky game against a bad defense. And against against Cincinnati, who's now going to be without Trey Hendrickson for the rest of the season unless they somehow make it into the playoffs. And that's unfortunate for them, too. He's going to be out for like 6 more weeks, at least, they said, which is crazy because I feel like he's missed like the entire season already.
At this point, yeah.
But I think this is the Ravens' game to lose here. In a scrappy AFC North, you rarely see teams sweep the others, and I think that it's going to hold true in this one. The Ravens have a lot more to play for in this game than Cincinnati does. Joe Burrow kind of seemed defeated, seemed like it was all over at his press conference. Mm-hmm. He said that they're not thinking about the playoffs, and that's all you really need to think about is just this game and just keep winning your games that you can control. And I think for Cincinnati, this is going to be one of those games where it's going to be a lot like the Bills game last week. That offense is going to keep them in it. They're going to play very good. But I think that I trust the Ravens defense to do a little bit more to stopping them than the Cincinnati Bengals. So go ahead and give me a Ravens win, 34-27. Another game I don't feel that great about, but go ahead and give me Baltimore to split the season series.
Yeah, it's that time of year, but I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals in this one. Just seeing how just 2 weeks ago they destroyed the Ravens, and last week, if it wasn't for those two tipped really well, the first interception was kind of Burrow's fault, throwing it right to Benford, but the second one was tipped and then picked off. If those interceptions don't happen, Cincinnati probably runs away with that game. And how would we be talking about the Bengals now if they would have beaten the Bills rather than they would have lost to them? You know, I feel like a lot more people would be, all right, Cincinnati's making this comeback. Cincinnati, especially in offense, played a really good game last week, a really good game. And I know you said you saw some promising things from Pittsburgh, but to me, from Baltimore. Last week was a very important game, and a lot of people were thinking, all right, this is the time that Baltimore is finally going to get back on track. Didn't necessarily happen because they lost the game. They could have ended up taking the lead with that touchdown, that controversial one that was called back with Isaiah Likely. But I don't know. It just feels really rough now for Baltimore. I'm kind of very untrusted with the Ravens right now, and I don't know what's been going on with Lamar Jackson repeatedly missing these Wednesday practices. They didn't even say it was due to an injury this time. He just said he just didn't go to practice due to some personal thing or something that was going on. I don't know. It's seeming to be a new routine. The past 5 weeks he's been doing this now. In the past 5 weeks he hasn't played great. So that's kind of something I'm looking at too. If I was a Ravens fan personally, I'd be a little upset about it, but I'm going to go with the Bengals in this one, as both Brian and the AI are also going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals, as you will lone wolf the Baltimore Ravens here in Week 15. As we move on to the next game here, it is the 2-11 Las Vegas Raiders, who will be without Geno Smith this week, it seems, as they go into Philadelphia to take on the 8-5 Eagles. Eagles obviously favored in this one. Raiders obviously eliminated from the playoffs. Could we see an upset here, or do you think the Eagles will get back on track?
Philly's played very bad these last couple of weeks, but I have to pick the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game. This is also my lock of the week, dude. This is just the easiest pick for me. I think that it's not even to crap on Kenny Pickett or whoever's under center for Las Vegas. I think they should have got rid of Geno Smith way sooner than they have. We're 13 weeks in, 13 games in for them. It's just you cannot afford to keep playing a shit quarterback who has clearly shown that he is not worthy of anything starting caliber-wise for the rest of his career. I just think that they should have switched it up a little bit sooner. This is first week to get acclimated to the offense. Maybe the offense plays a little bit better than usual, but I still don't think it's going to be enough. The Eagles hung around with the Chargers in spite of Jalen Hurts playing absolute dog shit. He had 3 interceptions going into that overtime. He obviously threw his 4th interception, and Sully was just an MVP out there on defense. But just overall, though, to just understand what this team is, Philadelphia is a team that's going to play a heck of a defensive game, and the offense is going to be the reason why they lose games, and I just don't see the offense being the reason why they lose a game like this. It's a really bad Raiders defense. They haven't played well all season, and now starting a new quarterback that could give them a little bit of life on offense, so expect them to do something with it maybe, but I think Philadelphia's got this one in the bag. 31-10, give me the Eagles to take down Las Vegas.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. Despite all the turnovers on offense for Philadelphia, they were still still in the game.
And that's a good Chargers team. A lot better than the Raiders.
I will say, though, it was a really wonky game. Both offenses were turning over the ball like crazy in that game.
The one play that sums up that game for me is the Hurts interception where the guy fumbled it, and then Hurts picked it up and then fumbled it.
Yeah, that play was absolutely ridiculous. But for last week, too, the Raiders, they lost to the Broncos last week. Broncos, one of the best teams in the league, so, I mean, okay. But Raiders have looked flat pretty much all season long, and they continued to show it last week. Now the backup quarterback, and the Eagles are the only team that has something to play for, really, in this game. So I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one as well, as both Brian and the AI will side with us. Go with the Eagles, as this is also the AI's lock of the week as well. With the Eagles.
Damn it, AI.
Yep. As we move on to the next game here, it is another matchup with an eliminated team and a team that still has something to play for. It is the 3-10 Arizona Cardinals as they travel into Houston to take on the red-hot 8-5 Texans, as obviously Texans are favored in this one. So we have another scenario, and if we're going to see an upset here, or the Texans going to stay hot and continue their winning ways.
Yeah, we've seen this Houston team run through the Colts, who still had Daniel Jones, the Kansas City Chiefs, who, of course, have Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen's Buffalo Bills. I think that Jacoby Brissett's Arizona Cardinals stand absolutely no chance against this defense. One thing about this Cardinals team that's really sad for me is that they're 3-10. They've played a hell of a lot better than 3-10. They kept it close with Green Bay, they kept it close with Jacksonville, and they kept it close with Indianapolis. 3 playoff teams currently. Obviously, Indianapolis might fall out now that they don't have Jones, but they kept it close in all 3 of those football games. They've impressed me this season thoroughly, so it's sad to see them kind of sitting where they are, but this is a Houston Texans team where, despite them keeping it close with other teams, I don't think they're going to keep it close in this game. If it wasn't for the Eagles game, this might have been my lock of the week. This is just one of those ones where you're going to have to play a lot better of an offense than Houston, and Houston's offense isn't great, but against the Cardinals defense that hasn't been good all season, I think that Houston's going to run away with this one. 24-7, give me the Texans to narrowly, just kidding, to destroy the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, really quick, just so you can get your point total things in. The AI's upset of the week was the Bengals over the Ravens. Just have to throw that out there. Forgot to mention it earlier. My apologies. But I'm also going to go with the Houston Texans in this one. After the events of last week, the Cardinals getting the doors blown off them to the Rams, which I know are arguably the best team in the league, so can't blame them too much for that.
Coming off a loss, too.
Yeah, coming off a loss. And for the Houston Texans, winning the Kansas City, beat the Chiefs, but I mean, it seems to be an easier thing to do this year than compared to years past. And Houston's offense in that second half looked really rough in that second half. The offensive line turned really to its early season form where it was just terrible and everyone was making fun of it, the whole thing. Haven't seen that lately. We saw a bit of it in the second half of that game last week, which if I was a Texans fan would worry me a little bit. But one thing that would keep me confident as the Texans fan is that defense, and that was dominant all 4 quarters. It's been dominant really for the entire season, and there's no reason why they can't be dominant again in a game like this against the Arizona Cardinals. So give me Houston in this one, as both Brian and the AI will also go with the Houston Texans in that matchup. As we move along to the next matchup, and speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, they are 6-7 on the season as they are favored to win their matchup here at home, hosting the 9-4 Chargers. An absolutely huge game. Chiefs obviously can no longer win their division this year. The Chargers still can, but neither team obviously is eliminated from the playoffs just yet. Chiefs have a chance to be eliminated after this week, but they'd have to lose to the Chargers in order for that to happen. So you can argue this is definitely a must-win for the defending AFC champs and the Kansas City Chiefs, as the Chargers look to put an end to their season early, as this is one of the bigger matchups of the week. Chiefs or Chargers, who do you got?
Yeah, the Chiefs can be eliminated this week with a loss, and then a Bills win, Jaguars win, and Texans win, and the Jags play the Jets, the Texans play the Cardinals, so the only real 2 matchups that are iffy are the Bills-Patriots game, and of course this one. I do think that Kansas City is a team that's got one of those sparks to have still, and no pun intended because they're playing the Chargers, but I think this Chargers team played very bad, honestly, last week. And yes, they won, but Jalen Hurts threw 4 interceptions. That game was very wonky. It shouldn't have been close. It was still close for the majority of it. For a game like that to kind of end the way that it did, to be that close, overtime loss for Philly, I think that Kansas City just has to play a decent offensive game and they can come out on top in this one, and I do think they'll do that. I think Kansas City is by far one of the teams that have surprised me this season, of course, but like this team just kind of can't seem to find an offensive identity. A lot of injuries on the offensive line, a lot of issues like that. And the Chargers are 22nd right now in the NFL in sacks and stuff like that. So, like, just defensive-wise, this Chargers team hasn't been as good as they were last season. This Kansas City Chiefs team has not been swept by the Chargers since 2015, so I don't think that they're going to get swept this season. I think it's going to be a desperate Patrick Mahomes playing for their season, and while they need help, they can control one thing, and that's them winning this football game, and I think they get that done at least.
Yeah, I'm going to side with the Kansas City Chiefs here as well. Just after the events of last week, I feel like you kind of have to lean towards the Chiefs with how the Chargers played, even though they did beat the Eagles, but I mean, with how they won was a very ugly fashion.
Also, how the Eagles have been playing.
Yeah, and even though the Chiefs had a rough game last week too, I know a lot of people are mentioning like at some point Kansas City will get hot, which last week I was saying, yeah, I don't really think it's going to happen this year, and we kind of saw that a little bit. But I think in a game like this, divisional opponent at home, this is kind of where the Chiefs kind of get their nice wins during the season. I think we're going to see one of those here today, or on Sunday, rather.
Yeah, today, because it's happening as we speak.
And I got to say for the Chargers, too, I feel like they kind of have a trend over recent years where they always start off the season hot. They're kind of like the Bills in a little bit of a sense, in that they'll start dropping a few games, then they won't look the same throughout the rest of the season. The only difference is that the Bills end up getting hot in December, and the Chargers kind of stay in that phase normally throughout to the end of the season, which obviously as a Chargers fan would be a bit worrisome.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of where my head is kind of looking at right now for this is, can the Chargers get back to their good ground and pound form, like nice play action, Justin Herbert, defense playing well. I don't know if they can get back to that form. They have a chance against the Chiefs this week, but like you mentioned, the Chiefs are very desperate coming into this game. So I'm going to side with the Kansas City Chiefs in this one, as both Brian and the AI have the Chiefs as well. So a clean sweep of the Chiefs over the Chargers.
When will we learn?
Literally, especially with how the season's been going. But
yeah.
Moving on to my personal game of the week here, our game of the week here, really.
Yes.
It is the 9-4 Buffalo Bills traveling into New England to take on the 11-2 Patriots. If the Patriots win this game on Sunday, they will clinch the AFC East Division title for the first time since 2019, I believe. As if the Bills win, they stay alive in the playoff race, really, as of right now, as it stands. They're the 6th seed right now behind the LA Chargers and just barely above Houston. So, obviously, bigger game for Buffalo than it is New England, but I think the Patriots could come in firing considering they can win the division at home against the Bills, who've been tormenting them for the past 5+ years now. So, really big matchup for both these teams here. Bills are the favorites in this game. But do you see the Bills winning, or do you think the Patriots will clinch the division on Sunday?
Yeah, I have a bunch of stats here, but the first one I want to start off with is both Denver and New England are both on 10-plus game winning streaks.
Yes.
And they are the only two teams in NFL history that are on 10-game winning streaks in the same season to both be favored to lose in the same week.
Wow.
As Denver is also favored to lose to Green Bay.
That's a stat right there.
That's interesting. I think it's kind of interesting to see how that happens. But here's the real kicker. I was thinking about this all week long, about this Bills-Patriots game, and how I can kind of look at it from an angle where maybe there's some other things we haven't known. We know New England hasn't played too many great teams this season, right? I'm sure that a lot of people have seen that. But I want to mention this because I did a little bit of digging and I looked at their entire season. I looked at defensive and offensive stats for the opposing teams, and here's what I came up with. Through 14 weeks, there are 14 teams in the NFL this season with 8 or more wins, and the Patriots have only faced one of those teams, and that's the Buffalo Bills in Week 5. Then there are 9 teams in the NFL that are averaging at least 25 points per game this season. They've only played one of them, once again, the Buffalo Bills. And then there are 13 defenses in the NFL this season that have given up less than 22 points. And the Patriots have played 0 of those teams. 0 of those teams. A big reason why New England won the first game against these two teams was because the Bills turned it over 3 times. The Bills had their biggest slump of the season against Atlanta and then New England back-to-back. In my opinion, that is our biggest slump of the season. Back-to-back losses, 3+ turnovers in each of those games. A James Cook fumble and 2 picks from Allen in the Falcons game. This is not normal for the Buffalo Bills. That's not what they've been doing as of late. And the only way Buffalo can win this game is to go out there and not turn over the football. Which, Josh Allen, this season, when the Bills haven't turned over the ball once, are 7-0 on the year. This is going to be about turnovers. It's going to be about maintaining possessions and keeping the ball. And what I've seen from the Bills' offense these last few weeks, I think they can do it. I think that's a Buffalo Bills team that is going to be desperate to come out here and win a football game. This is so important for the Bills because if we lose, the Texans play the Cardinals. The Texans easily jump us for the 7th seed and for the 6th seed, and the Bills fall down to the 7th seed just like that, 1 spot away from being eliminated from the playoffs.
I don't know if I don't know who has the tiebreaker. The Colts do play Sunday. Obviously, every team does. They're not going to be favored to win against Seattle, obviously, but on the off chance they do win and the Bills lose, they both have the same record. So it's interesting to see who would have the tiebreaker because there might be a scenario where if the Bills lose, they could be out of the playoff picture altogether.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a desperate Buffalo Bills team, and if you're talking about a desperate Josh Allen, I'm not picking against desperate Josh Allen. Ever, 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 ever. The only time maybe Kansas City if it's a playoff game. This is a regular season game against a team in your division who's trying to win the division, and it's not going to be pretty. It's never pretty in these kinds of situations, but I think Josh Allen's going to go out there and get the job done for this Buffalo Bills team. They are one of the best teams in football. New England hasn't played anybody except for Buffalo that's been good this season. Not even Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, everybody said, oh, that's a good win for New England. Yeah, you guys can shut up because New England's good. They just lost to the Saints, people. They might not even make the playoffs. They're going to win the weakest division in the entire NFL, and they might not even do that because Carolina's on their ass. There's no way you guys can defend New England's schedule yet. They have 2 of their most important games coming up against Baltimore, who, again, big shocker, hasn't played that good this season, and Buffalo again. Your best win is against the Bills. You won't beat them twice. Josh Allen's going to come in desperate to win this division, to keep that streak alive. Buffalo wins 24-21. I think Josh Allen and the boys will get it done on the road.
I like it. I'm going to go with the Bills, too, here, obviously,
Big
in
shocker.
this one. It's that time of year, and I've been mentioning it for the past 2 weeks. I know you're going to hate me. I'm going to bring it up again.
Uh-oh.
The number 1 seed probabilities.
Oh, my God.
As of right now, the Bills going into this week have a 5% chance to make it, which seems pretty slim. But Patriots, like you mentioned, they still play us, still play Baltimore. They have the Jets and Dolphins left on their schedule.
Ooh.
Dolphins week 18, and the one team that's really got it upsetting the New England Patriots is none other than the Miami Dolphins. So I find that to be a little bit interesting there. And then you look at a team like the Broncos. Well, if let's say the Bills do win the division, the Broncos are still sitting there at 11-2. They play the Packers still. They play the Chargers still.
They play the Chiefs on
They
Christmas.
play the Chiefs still. They have a lot of games where it's potential loss for them on the season. So I still think the Bills are very much alive for the 1 seed. I think it wouldn't be crazy to suggest that they can do it. Obviously, it's not the favorite thing that's like going to happen, like the common projections are saying for like the Patriots and Broncos to potentially get it. But I think the Bills are going to win this game. This is one of those games, I've had a gut feeling for this game for the past 4 weeks now, where I think the Bills are going to come in and have a really good game, and I think it's going to be very impressive. I think they're going to look really good. I think it's going to be one of the Bills' better defensive showings of the year is going to be against the Patriots here. Not to say it might not be like a close game at half, but I think when the game is all said and done, I think it's going to be an impressive win for Buffalo. As the Patriots, I don't think I'm going to be too worried. All they got to do is really win 1 to 2 more games and they win the division, right? So we'll see how it plays out. But in terms of other picks, both Brian and the AI will side with the Patriots in this one. So we are split down the middle here, 2-2. as we see who gets the win. Really big game on CBS at 1 o'clock. As we move into the next game with another AFC East team here. It is the 3-10 New York Jets, who obviously are eliminated from the playoffs, as they travel into Jacksonville to take on the current number 3 seed in the AFC. It is the 9-4 Jaguars. Obviously, we're also favored in this one. Jaguars had a really important win last week against the Colts that are now without Daniel Jones, obviously. The Jets, as I try to remember who they played. They played the Dolphins in their game last week, and that one was not pretty, 34-10. So another scenario, eliminated team against a team that is still in the fight for the playoffs. Will an upset happen, or will the Jaguars stay hot?
Yeah, I think Jacksonville's got this one in the bag. The Jets have kind of shown a little bit of life in some games, like that Atlanta game, but that was with a backup quarterback, Kirk Cousins, playing. And Kirk's okay QB, but he's not like this Jags team this season. Jacksonville's been one of the more surprising teams this season, and it's weird to think that because really, coming into this season, we didn't have the Seahawks, Colts, Jaguars, Broncos, Patriots all doing so great. And here they are, all top of the class, top of the league and stuff. The power rankings look like, wait, back in week 1, none of these teams were on the radar, and now they all are. So I think Jacksonville's one of those teams, though, and Jacksonville's played very well in the games they should win, and I think they'll continue that here in this game. They don't lose many football games. They find ways to win the close ones, and I think this one won't be one of those ones, but I still think that's important to note. Jacksonville has been able to beat up on the teams that they should win, and I think they do again. 31-17, give me the Jags.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jaguars here in this one, too. In my lock of the week here with the Jaguars over the Jets, I feel like there's not too much to talk about for this one. Jaguars with a really important win last week. They're looking really impressive right now. The Jets haven't had much life all season long, and they got squished by the Dolphins 34-10. So there isn't really much to go about with the Jets right now, except maybe their special teams, which seems to be their best part of their team right now.
Yeah, punt return touchdown was their only touchdown.
I feel like they get one almost every week now. I feel like
yeah,
I see it on Red Zone, and there he goes. I'm gonna go with the Jaguars here in this one, as both Brian and the AI have Jacksonville as well in a clean sweep of the Jags over the Jets. As we move in to the final 1 o'clock game of the week, this one on Fox. Arguable tank bowl here between two NFC East teams. It is the 3-10 Washington Commanders, who will not be playing Jaden Daniels this week, as they travel into New Jersey to take on the 2-11 Giants. Loser obviously will jump ahead of the other more than likely for a higher draft pick come April. So
they have to play each other again, I think, still, right?
They might week 18 potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah,
maybe.
For now, obviously big game in terms of tanking. So obviously neither team is really going to actually be tanking. Maybe, who knows? Might be some news that'll come out later on. But who do you have winning this one, or losing this one, I should say, in a nice little tank bowl in Week 15?
I just think without Jaden Daniels, this offense hasn't been that great this season. They just got shut out against Minnesota last week, which Minnesota has a great defense. I won't disrespect Minnesota too much. But New York Giants got a good enough pass rush here against a pretty hurting offensive line here for Washington as well. And then on top of that, Jackson Dart has shown a lot of improvement for this team. And you can argue that the Giants should have 5 or 6 wins if they didn't choke a bunch of games. They had a game against Denver where they had them in a chokehold and they choked that game away. It's just this New York Giants team has been in a lot more close games where their record could be better than the Commanders have been for me. And the Giants look better than that 2-11 record shows versus the Commanders. 3-10 sounds about right for Washington with how they've played this season without Daniels. So I think that continues to happen in this football game, and I think the Commanders aren't going to play enough of a football game to win this one. They're going to be a little bit higher scoring, though. Give me the Giants 27-20 to win this football game.
Yeah, the Giants are coming off their bye week, and the Commanders probably wish they came off a bye week because they lost. They got shut out to the Minnesota Vikings, which they do have a good defense, but I mean, you still can't get shut out in a game like that when your season was basically on the line. Even though there wasn't really much to play for, it's kind of a demoralizing season for them really this whole year. Injuries have really killed them this season. But I think the Giants coming off that bye, and honestly, over the course of the season, you mentioned it, Giants look better than their 2-11 record shows.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with the Giants here as well. I don't think it's going to be a crazy entertaining game. I don't think either team's going to blow the other one
Yeah,
out.
it's going to be one of those ones on Red Zone that they show like 3 or 4 times in like the first half hour, and then you're just not going to see it again until like it's final.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, that's a nice grab there as we go back to the next game.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, give me the Giants here in this one, as both Brian and the AI will go with the Giants as well, as we got another clean sweep of the Giants over the Commanders. As I lied to you all a couple minutes ago, we got one more 1 o'clock game. This one is the 9-4 Chicago Bears as they host the 3-10 Cleveland Browns. This is the final 1 o'clock game of the week here. Browns, again, another team that's eliminated from the playoffs. Bears had a tough loss to the Packers last week, but still look good in the loss nonetheless. But they're 9-4 in the season and just barely in the playoff picture, sitting at the 7th seed right now, compared to just being the number 1 seed a week prior. It's crazy how tight the race is in the NFC right now, but big game for the Bears in this one. Do they get it done, or do the Browns and Myles Garrett and Shedeur Sanders pull the upset in the Windy City in what's going to be a really cold game?
Yeah, this game really scares me to be like that upset. I could totally see it on so many levels. This Browns defense had arguably one of its worst games of the season last week, giving up 31 to a lowly Tennessee Titans team. I think that they have played very better than that, like especially on defense too, so I think that they'll be fine. It's more so about that offense for me that makes me scared to say this could be an upset for the Cleveland Browns. I think that a cold, windy weather game like that isn't really the style that Chicago wants here, because this game would favor the Cleveland Browns in many, many ways in that sense. Cleveland likes to run the football, work through Shedeur Sanders kind of as a secondary option. They don't want to make him the focal point of the offense, even though he played great last week when he had to be that focal point. I just think that this Bears defense is going to be the real question on whether or not they get this win or not. I think Chicago is going to keep their hopes alive and win this football game. If we're talking about this game next week on the pod and I throw my pen at a window because I wanted to pick the Cleveland Browns, I will be pretty upset. But I do think the Browns have a good shot at this. I just think that Cleveland's going to narrowly fall short. Give me a 21-17 Chicago Bears win.
Just so the viewers know, there is a window in here, just so you guys know. It's not in the camera, but we certainly have one right over here. But I'm going to go with the Bears in this one as well. I've noticed over the years, I'm kind of just a sucker for the games that have a team that has something to play for compared to a team that does not. Which, obviously, over the course of the years, we've seen those eliminated teams beat those teams that still have something to play for, and those crazy upsets. Look at Tampa and the Saints last week.
Look
it
at,
happens.
the domino effect of the Dolphins beating the Patriots, so they didn't get a first-round bye, and they lost to the Titans in the wild card in 2019.
That one, too.
Tom Brady leaves to go to Tampa. Tampa Bay has him. They lose him, and then they pick up Baker Mayfield. It's crazy.
It is crazy, those domino effects. But I don't know what it is. I'm a real sucker for them. Not saying that I think if the Browns weren't eliminated, I'd pick them to win. I'd still go with the Chicago Bears. Just kind of been throwing it out there because there's a lot of games this week that are in that same scenario as a game like this. But obviously the weather will be a factor. I think it has a chance to be the coldest game in Soldier Field history, which is going to be pretty crazy. Minus -20 wind chills. In the game.
I want to pick Cleveland so bad.
Do you want to switch it? You still got a chance. The camera's still recording.
I'm gonna pick Cleveland.
You're gonna pick Cleveland? Here we go. There we go.
Holy crap! I'm picking the Cleveland Browns, guys.
Oh no! Now you're definitely gonna be throwing your pen at the window. All right, you're switching your pick to the Bears. As both Brian and the AI are also gonna side with the Chicago Bears. So you will now be lone wolfing the Browns over the Bears. As we move into the 4:25 window. Fun fact of this week, there is no 4 or 5 o'clock games, only 4:25 games.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But first matchup here is going to be on Fox. It is an NFC South battle between the 7-6 Carolina Panthers, who are favored in this one, as they look to potentially win the division this season, as they travel into New Orleans to take on the 3-10 Saints, who did them a huge favor last week in beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Which Saints, again, another team that's eliminated from the playoffs. Panthers fighting for that potential division crown. So it's a huge matchup for them. Do the Saints and Tyler Shuck continue to look impressive and get another win here? Or are the Panthers going to continue to fight for that division?
This game was actually really weirdly close for me to pick. I think that this Tyler Shuck-led offense has looked a lot better. I think that they just have to find a way to get someone involved in the running game, which obviously last week they got Devin Neal involved, which, fun fact, I almost picked him up in fantasy, and I decided to start DK Metcalf, which actually ended up working out in my favor, but he did have 110 yards and a rushing touchdown, so I just want to mention that I almost made a pretty cool move as well, so... Either way, I do think that Devin Neal can definitely be the focal point of that offense. They just have to kind of get him involved a little bit more. I mean, for so many years, this has been an offense run through Alvin Kamara, and so trying to work in the play action, work through Olave and stuff, and obviously Tyler Shuck's legs too. He can definitely be that quarterback to help them with their future, but in this kind of a football game, Carolina seems to win these weirdly gritty games against other teams that really shouldn't be close, but they are. And they've been so confusing because they'll lose a game where they absolutely get destroyed, and then they'll play up to expectations and absolutely outduel the Rams in an instant classic. And it just makes no sense to me, but I do think Carolina, I'll trust you this week. Go ahead and pick them to take down the New Orleans Saints 24-17.
Yeah, I think the Panthers are going to be kind of riding the wave now. As you mentioned, beating the Rams in an instant classic. Who saw that coming this season? And then coming off the bye week, well rested, I think this Panthers team is locked and loaded to potentially make a run as the season comes to an end, which is kind of crazy to say compared to the beginning of the season. I've been shitting on them all season long.
You're like me with the Seahawks last
year. Yeah, but I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers here. And I'm going to say this just so I can continue to hate on the Panthers just for the trend of this season for the podcast. I'm only picking them to win because they're playing a team that has absolutely nothing to play for this week. So give me the Carolina Panthers to win this one, as Brian will side with us and go with the Panthers, as the AI will go with the New Orleans Saints, as they're going to lone wolf this one with New Orleans. Pretty interesting pick by the AI there. But nonetheless, we're going to move along to another Fox game in the late window here. This one is set to be a really good one. It is the 8-5 Detroit Lions traveling into LA to take on the 10-3 Rams. Rams obviously favored to win this in this matchup. This is kind of a rarity matchup here. This is really only our second, maybe third matchup of two teams that aren't eliminated from the playoffs just yet, which is really nice to see. So huge game for both these teams. Bigger game for Detroit. They're on the outside looking in right now. It's the game behind the Chicago Bears to potentially squeak into the playoffs as the season starts to come to a close. Is the Rams currently sitting at the 1 seed, but that can change really quick if they lose this week to the Lions. Huge game for both these teams. And who do you have coming out with the win as we have another edition of Goff versus Stafford on opposite ends?
Yeah, this has been an interesting little trend for these two teams. Obviously, with these quarterbacks, they played in the wild card round the year that the Lions made it to the NFC Championship. I think that it's a great storyline, but I have a little bit of statistics here that kind of lean me in one way. So, since their Week 8 bye, the Los Angeles Rams have gone 5-1, averaging 34.4 points per game in those 6 games. And now Stafford gets to face the Lions defense, which has been going through a lot of different phases and stuff with a lot of injuries happening. Terrion Arnold on IR out for the season. And heading into Week 12, the Lions have not given up more than 355 yards in any game all season, but all 3 of their opponents over the past 3 weeks have topped that number. So the Giants did that. They put up over 500 yards on them in Week 12. And this is the type of game that Stafford can have a lot of passing success because of that. So it's going to be good for Nakua. It's going to be good for Adams because they have those receiving options. And if the Rams can turn this into a shootout, I think that the Rams are going to easily win this football game. The Lions can keep it up. They can play well. And I kind of contradict myself because I said before that the Lions, if it gets into a shootout, they can win. This might be one of the only 2 teams in the NFL where if it gets into a shootout, I think they would lose to. The Rams or the Bills are the 2 teams that I'm mentioning in that regard. I think that it's not as sure of a Lions game here if they're going to be able to keep up. I think that that's because Jared Goff might get sacked a lot in this game. The Lions are 4-0 on the season when Jared Goff gets sacked 2 times or less in a football game this season. However, the Rams are averaging 2.8 sacks per game this season, which is the 6th highest total in the NFL. With the Rams not having a lot of holes right now, also playing at pretty much the best that they can possibly play at going into this playoff run, I think it's a detriment for the Lions here. This game's really going to come down to which defense is better, and it's by a mile. It's the Los Angeles Rams defense. So In a shootout, 31-27, I have the Rams winning this one. I'm sorry to all Lions fans. This hurts. This hurts for me, too, to do this. But maybe if the Bears actually lose to the Browns, I'll still have a shot. So, who knows?
We'll see, but this might be the time of the pod where I start to sound a little bit ridiculous here when it comes to this game, because I was very torn on who to pick to win this game, as obviously looking at the paper and the sheets and the stats and everything, the Rams should win this game, but something has been telling me to go with the Detroit Lions, and I guess you can call it one of those gut feelings, but as I was making these picks, I think what could be the reason why I have a gut feeling about this is I'm going to tie this team into it, is because if the thing I mentioned earlier with like getting the 1 seed, if there's a scenario, if there's a world where that actually happens, there's another thing out there that could also go in favor of the Bills if the Rams were to lose, and that is a MVP with Josh Allen potentially going back-to-back. Matthew Stafford is the favorite for MVP. Right behind Matthew Stafford is Drake May. Right behind Drake May is Josh.
Bo Nix, and then right behind Bo Nix
No,
is
it's Josh Allen. It's Josh Allen at number 3. So if the Bills to get the 1 seed, the Patriots have to have a bit of a somewhat collapse here in the final 4 weeks here. Which, if that happens, obviously Allen will more than likely jump Drake May in the MVP votings. And if the Rams drop a couple games, they got a couple big games coming up, one of which are the Lions. If Stafford and the Lions lose, or Stafford and the Rams, lose this one to the Lions, Allen's odds are going to jump up significantly, I think. So give me the Detroit Lions.
You scumbag.
Give me the Detroit Lions to win this.
I'm all analytical, and he's like, but Josh Allen could win MVP, so I'm going to go with the Lions.
Hey, it's possible. It could very much happen. I think
it's possible, buddy.
I think there's so much magic with this team in the final year of the stadium. I think it can happen.
Oh, my God, bro.
I think it can happen. Give me the Detroit Lions, as both Brian and the AI will side with you.
Yeah.
And go with the LA Rams.
They actually have a brain.
As they all go with the Rams, I'm going to go with the Lions. Give me Dan Campbell and Jared Goff and Jameer Gibbs and Aiden Hutchinson. All those great teams. Screw off to beat the LA Rams. As we move into the Sunday night game.
Sunday night?
It is between the 5-8 Minnesota Vikings. What? It said Sunday night.
Why? We have the Seahawks, Colts, Broncos, Packers, and 49ers, Titans.
Hold on.
Bro's
we're
missing
fine.
3 games.
We're fine. Hold on. Next game on CBS. 4 o'clock game. 8-5 Colts at the 10-3 Seahawks. Will Phillip Rivers play this game? Who knows? Do I have my sanity? Who knows? But for a game like this, Seattle's one of the top teams in the league right now. Colts seem to be falling off, especially after losing Daniel Jones. Obviously, big game for both these teams, both still very much in the playoff chase. Who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, the Colts were just having the best run they've had in several years, and he tore an Achilles. The Pacers had one of their best runs in years, and he tore his Achilles in Game 7. Tyrese Halliburton did. So I don't know what it is with this city and torn Achilles, but I feel really bad for the Colts. They were playing well, and now they're playing their toughest stretch this season, and it looks like they're going to fall out of the playoff picture just like that. If there's a spot up for grabs in the AFC, it's definitely their spot in the playoffs. So I do think that this is an interesting game. If they did have Daniel Jones, this would totally be a lot more interesting of a football game. However, without him, Seattle's defense has already been playing great as, pretty much they can play. You know, they've played about as good as they can. And going against a team that might have Phillip Rivers, who's 44 years old, starting a playoff game for them, basically, where it's this is it for them. If they lose this game, it's over. I think that this is going to be the end of the Indianapolis Colts, though. I've said it for the last few weeks where I thought that they were going to finally start to slide a little bit, and here we go. Here it is. Seattle's going to take this one easily here due to the Colts' lack of quarterback play. 28-7 Seahawks throttle them.
You know,
that's being generous.
It's kind of a shame because, I was saying, for a big chunk of the year, the Colts are going to fall off at some point. They're going to fall off at some point.
And then the way they fall off sucks.
It's the way they fall off because I didn't feel like they really necessarily fell off. They just lost a couple of tough games. and now they lost their quarterback, which obviously is not the kind of way you want to fall off in. But now they got Phillip Rivers, a guy who hasn't played in 5 years, but he is a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, so who knows? Anything is possible with this season, right? But I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. You're going to throw a 44-year-old in there against one of the top defenses in the league. Good luck. He might only last a game if he's lucky. But give me the Seattle Seahawks to win this game. Colts, they could have a say in this game. I mean, we don't even know if Phillip Rivers is going to be playing. It's just pure speculation here. But could very well be possible, but Colts could linger around in this game for a little bit. We'll see. Kind of depends how well the offense plays, how well Jonathan Taylor plays. Could be a big factor in this one too. So, but I'm going to go with the safe pick here. Give me Seattle, as both Brian and the AI will also go with the Seattle Seahawks in this game. As we go to Sunday... No, I'm kidding. As we go to our next matchup here...
Monday Night Football.
Biggest game on CBS for the week, surprisingly enough. It is the 9-3-1 Green Bay Packers. As you mentioned it earlier, they're the favorites against the 11-2 Denver Broncos. Big game for both these teams, obviously. Bigger game, I believe, for the Packers, just with how tight the NFC's been this season, as I feel like the Broncos kind of have a little bit of breathing room, but not really so much for the 1 seed, but in terms of just making the playoffs in general, they do have a little bit of cushion here. So, but still, nonetheless, big game for both these teams. Broncos can clinch a playoff spot with a win, but they got to beat the Packers to do it. Really tough opponent. Big game again, like I mentioned. Who do you have winning this one?
This feels like the exact opposite of that Rams-Lions. That's like a game that's going to be a shootout. It's going to come down to which defense can stop the other more, and I think that's the Rams. This is the exact opposite, where two really good defenses are going at it. Which offense is actually going to be able to score more against those defenses? And I think it's Green Bay's offense, personally. Denver's been a house of cards all season. We're waiting for them to fall down, and we know at some point there's going to be a slight gust of wind, and it's going to happen. This is like the craziest 10-game winning streak in maybe NFL history at this point. I
still think the Chiefs are the craziest.
This is right there with it, though.
It is.
They have 8 of their 10 wins have come by 1 score. 4 of those wins, they were down by 17 points or more in those games and came back and won. 6 of their wins have been by 3. 6 of their 10 wins have been by 3 points or less. They have trailed at 1 point during the first 9 games of this streak. The only game they didn't was last week against the Raiders. And then on top of that, they have trailed at least by 14 points in the fourth quarter in 2 of those games, in the Eagles game and the Giants game. That is terrible. That is terrible. And you're playing with fire. If you're Denver, you're playing with fire, and you're finally playing a team that's on the same caliber as you in Green Bay. I think this is where it finally starts to fall down a little bit. And then if you look at the other side here, the Broncos have surrendered just 18.1 points per game this season, while the Packers are giving up 19 even points per game this season. Both rank in the top 6 in the NFL. Denver's 6, and then Denver is 3, Green Bay is 6, my bad. On top of that, the Broncos are giving up 282 yards per game, while the Packers are at 287.2. They are in the top 3 in the NFL right now in those 2 categories. Denver's at 2, Green Bay at 3. Broncos are giving up less than 90 rushing yards per game, while the Packers are holding their opponents to 190 passing yards per game. Why did I mention it like that? Josh Jacobs is the focal point of that offense. They're not giving up that many rushing yards, the Broncos are. Only 90 per game. And then on the other side, it's been the Bo Nix-led passing game that's helped them get this far. 190 passing yards per game is what Green Bay's allowing right now. There's a 50% chance that this game's 3-0, 7-3. But I think that this is going to be a lower-scoring football game, and it's going to come down to which offense is better. And you know what month it is? It's December, right? You know what's during December? Toyotathon. You know what's important about Toyotathon? Jordan Love has lost 1 game in his NFL career during Toyotathon. 1. He has 36 touchdown passes to 3 interceptions in the month of December in his NFL career during Toyotathon. I think they need to extend it through February if the Packers want to win a Super Bowl. But, I mean, if they keep it like this, and I think that this is a no-brainer for me. Green Bay is clearly the better offensive team. It's going to come down to which offense is better in this football game with 2 stingy defenses going at it. 20-17. Give me the Packers to take them down. As Tom Grossi, I'm doing you proud.
I am also going to go with the Green Bay Packers in this one, so you're also welcome, Tom Grassi.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, the Broncos are indeed a house of cards. It's just going to be a matter of time until they fall off. I mentioned this the other day when I was in class, actually, because we were talking about the Broncos. And I was kind of worrisome a little bit for me because they feel like the Kansas City Chiefs last year, which, again, we also mentioned just a minute ago. And eventually they're going to fall off, but it's at what point are they going to fall off? Because the Chiefs team of last year, they didn't fall off until the Super Bowl. So for Denver, I mean, if you hear that, you're like, shit, I mean, we make a Super Bowl, but no one thought the Chiefs would even make it this far, and the Broncos are not that championship caliber team just yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Everyone seems to be waiting on the Broncos' downfall as of right now. But the Packers have been a little bit inconsistent this season, which is why they have those 3 losses there on the year. But I'm going to go with the Packers here in this one. Big matchup here. Really, I could see either side winning. I could see the Broncos winning by the skin of their teeth in this one, like they've had been most of the season.
6 games have ended with 3 points or less.
Exactly, but I'm going to go with the Packers here in this one, as both Brian and the AI will go with the Packers as well. As we move on to the final 4 o'clock game of the week, this one being on Fox. It is the 2-11 Tennessee Titans, who beat Shedeur Sanders last week and looked pretty good against the Browns defense, as they travel into Santa Clara to take on the 9-4 49ers, who are obviously favored to win this game. I believe they're the 6th seed in the NFC right now, but with how the NFC is, they can easily drop out of the playoff picture with a loss here in this one. So big game for San Francisco. Do you think the Niners keep to their winning ways, or does Cam Ward get a second win in a row?
I don't think they're going to get a second win in a row here. This is a San Francisco team that's got a hell of a lot more to play for than Tennessee. The Titans had their moment of the season last week, winning against Cleveland in a pretty offensive showdown, which is surprising because everybody in their mind thought that was going to be like 10-7 or something.
Yeah.
But the fact that they played well in that football game, their only other win this season was against the Arizona Cardinals in the craziest upset of the season potentially, because it was just so weird on how it actually how it actually happened. They followed that game up with a 31-point loss. So unfortunately for them, I don't think that they're going to play that well in this football game. The game after that was against Seattle. So unfortunate times for this Tennessee Titans team. I think they're an okay football team. I think they've got a lot to figure out still, though. And against the San Francisco 49ers team that's beat up, I could see it happening. I could see them potentially doing something. But I think that San Francisco is going to pull away and win this football game. I don't think it's going to be terribly far away from them, but I don't think it'll be that close. 28-17, give me the 49ers.
Yeah, I only feel a little bit bad for you that you're on a buy-in fantasy this week.
Because McCaffrey plays
all
the
you would
Titans.
probably need would be a Christian McCaffrey, because I think Christian McCaffrey is probably going to do it all in this game. That's all the 49ers are really going to need in this game.
The 49ers play a tough team next week, I think, too. I don't know
who they play.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to find out in a second. You're going on your phone. But I think this is going to be a really ugly game for Tennessee, personally. I don't see them going back-to-back and having two great games in a row on offense.
They play on Monday night against the Colts.
So Phillip Rivers on Monday night next week?
Oh, they better get flexed out. Oh, no.
That's going to be a game. But, yeah, with how the Titans have been all year, I mean, you simply can't trust the Titans to have 2 straight good games in a row. That's way too crazy to happen. But, again, with how the season's been, anything could happen. But both Brian and the AI are going to go with the 49ers as well, as shockingly, no one has this game as their lock of the week. There's just been too many options this year for that, or for this week for that. But finally, going back to the game I wanted to get to earlier so badly, apparently, Sunday night game between the 5-8 Vikings, who are not eliminated as of today, but could be by the time the game kicks off, as they go into Dallas to take on the 6-6-1 Dallas Cowboys.
6-6-6.
Yeah, literally 6-6-1 Dallas Cowboys, as they're the favorites in this one. Vikings with a nice win last week against the Commanders, as the Cowboys dropped that Thursday night game to the Lions last week, which really felt like a must-win for them. They couldn't get it done. Defense kind of went back to their shitty ways last week. But really big game for Dallas here. If they lose, their season is pretty much done. So this is kind of their little last hurrah here on Sunday night. Do you think the Cowboys are going to take care of business here? Do you think the Vikings defense at 9 will take over on Sunday night and get the win?
I think there's 9 reasons why they're going to lose this game, and all 9 of those reasons are J.J. McCarthy. I think that this is a team in Dallas, that really only loses if the game becomes like a shootout. They tied with Green Bay when it was a shootout. They lost last week in a pretty big shootout to Detroit. So I think that this is going to be a game of offenses in this one, and another one that I'm sad I'm on bye week for with CeeDee Lamb. But I do think that this is an interesting team here. Cowboys offense against the Vikings defense is certainly going to be a fun matchup. On the other side, Vikings offense against the Cowboys defense is going to be the saddest football I might see all week. So unfortunate for Dallas that they lost last week, but I think they bounce back and keep their hopes slimly alive in this one here. I think it might even just be for the division at this point because
I think so.
Honestly, Philadelphia has been playing pretty badly, and they're only like a game and a half ahead of them. So I do think that this is an important game for Dallas, and they'll get it done with J.J. McCarthy really not being able to live up to the expectations of his high draft pick. So 27-14, giving the Cowboys to handle business on Sunday night.
Yeah, real quickly again for points. I don't think I mentioned it earlier. The Lions over the Rams was my upset of the week as well. I don't know if you got that down. I don't think I mentioned it, but just throwing that out there in terms of that. But for the Vikings-Cowboys game, I feel like you could say the same thing that we just mentioned with the Titans last week. Like, Titans offense having 2 good games in a row. J.J. McCarthy playing well 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Seems very, very unlikely with how the season's been so far.
They didn't even play all that great. 31 points, but the defense did most of the work. They had multiple picks. Close.
Yeah, defense did most of the work there. But Dallas does not have as good of a defense as Minnesota does.
They did. They'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah, but for this game, I think it's really going to be Dallas to take this game from start to finish, really. I don't know if the offense is going to have a great game because, again, the Vikings do have a good defense, but I think the Cowboys will get a lot of opportunities on offense, especially with how the Vikings offense has been this season. So this might be a rough showing for Justin Jefferson and company on Sunday night. But I think in the end, Dallas will get the win, as both Brian and the AI also have Dallas beating the Vikings here in this one. As we move on to the final game of the week, Monday Night Football. It is the 6-7 Miami Dolphins.
You're going to get punched so hard.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. It's worth it. As they travel into Pittsburgh to take on the 7-6 Steelers. Steelers coming off a crucial win last week against the Baltimore Ravens, as the Dolphins continuing to stay alive in the playoff race as they beat up on the lowly Jets last week 34-10. Big game for both teams, really. If the Dolphins lose, their season's pretty much over, as if the Steelers lose this game, it's going to make that division a little bit more interesting here down the stretch. So lots at stake here on Monday night, but who do you have coming out with the victory?
Well, a little bit interesting of a moment here. T.J. Watt was put in the hospital today due to a lung problem that he was having. So he had an issue with a lung injury that occurred during a treatment at the team facility, and he's in a local hospital after all of that happened. So with that being said, with that being said, that's obviously a big hit for them. And I have mentioned Pittsburgh's defense has been good at stopping the run these past, most of the season. The last 2 weeks, they've given up over 200 rushing yards to both of their opponents, both the Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. So with that being known, Miami's offense runs through Devon Achane. Tua's averaged 171 passing yards over their 4-game winning streak, I think it is now. 4-game, 5-game, something like that. Mm-hmm. But either way, over this win streak, he's only averaged 170 yards passing per game. So that means that they like to run the football, and that's the way you beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is going to be one of those teams where it's going to be a cold weather game, so are you actually going to be able to hold on and win that game? They did beat the Jets last week in a colder weather game, I guess, if you suppose. So they've only won one game in Tua's entire career under 40 degrees temperature. The kickoff temperature is supposed to be 26 degrees for this football game, so we'll see what ends up happening with that, if that sticks. But I do think that Miami's got a solid shot at this one, and this would be the most Pittsburgh Steelers thing ever to come in off a huge win in the division and then choke a game like this to Miami. Miami's done this before on their own right to the Tennessee Titans on Monday Night Football, funnily enough. It was just not the way they wanted it to go, obviously.
Yeah.
In terms of divisional matchups for them, obviously lost them the division to the Bills. But either way, though, I do think Miami's a solid football team, and they're playing for their lives at this point. A loss basically eliminates them if they're not already eliminated. I don't think they are.
They are not. No.
So Miami has a shot here. I think Pittsburgh, this would be the most Steelers thing ever to do. I think they will narrowly lose this football game. As if Miami wins this game, I just want to throw it out there. Mike Tomlin's seasons of being over 500 may be over as they play the Lions and Ravens as two of their final three opponents. So who knows what happens. I think Miami pulls it off, though. My upset of the week is the Miami Dolphins, and I damn know it's going to be Brian's, too.
Well, I mean, there's only one game left. So. But I got to mention this, too, in terms of, for me picking this game. I believe let's see here. So, the Dolphins, you know how the whole thing has been they can't beat a team with a winning record?
Yeah.
The only team they've beaten with a winning record this season
us.
is the Bills. They haven't beaten anyone else with a winning record this season.
Who else has a winning record, though, that they've played?
No, I'd have to go back
Patriots,
and check.
I guess?
They played the Patriots, us again. This finishes loading. I mean,
they play Houston at all?
At the time, the Ravens had a winning record, so could say maybe Baltimore. I don't know. Well, actually, they might have not had a winning record, honestly. But
either way, though.
They played the Colts beginning of the season. Played Panthers, Chargers.
The Ravens definitely did not have a winning record, by the way, because the Ravens just
that
got
was,
Lamar back on Thursday night.
Yeah, I know. But, regardless, though, Dolphins do not really win those games against teams with winning records, and this feels like one of those games. Steelers always have a winning record by the end of the season. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game. TJ Watt or not, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh in this one, as the AI will side with me and go with Pittsburgh, as Brian also has his upset of the week with the Dolphins over the Steelers.
I hate you, Brian.
As expected. As that will do it for our Week 15 NFL predictions, as we are over an hour in this podcast for the first time in a minute, thanks to those no bye weeks.
Yeah.
But if you guys enjoyed the video, thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. If you guys enjoy what we do here over on the channel, subscribe would be oh so amazing right here. And if you guys want to check out my score predictions, where I put a little score in for every single game, you guys can see that right over here. It's already been out for a few days, so I wouldn't be surprised if you guys already seen my picks. But with that being said, if you guys also have your own score predictions, you can put them in the comments below. But with that being said, I don't got much else to say except Lifeforms out.